summit brings together member states and other relevant stakeholders to discuss the theme towards a common digital future, strengthening inclusive innovation and cooperation to bridge the digital divides. In accordance with the concept note circulated online on 14 August by the President of the General Assembly, and in keeping with the terms of Assembly Resolution 76/307 on the modalities for the Summit of the Future, and Decision 77/568 on the scope of the summit. Joining us on the podium today are Ms. Doreen Bowden-Martin, Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union, Mr. Juan M. Lavista Perez, Corporate Vice President and Chief Data Scientist of the AI for Good Lab at Microsoft, and Ms. Linda Borrow, founder of the Lawyers Hub, who will join the co-chairs in setting the scene for this dialogue. Mr. Amandeep Singh Phil, United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, will deliver closing remarks. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, distinguished participants, I now have the pleasure to invite my fellow co-chair, His Excellency Ala Karis, President of Estonia, to make some introductory remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, distinguished participants. The theme of this dialogue resonates deeply with my country's journey and our deep commitment to exploiting digital technologies for a betterment of society. Estonia has focused on digital innovation to accelerate the fulfillment of sustainable development goals, to bridge digital divides, and to empower all individuals. Our success story, if I can humbly say, is a great reminder of how digital technologies can transform a society, any society. Because of our difficult history, we are now fully committed to transparency, openness, and innovation. It has allowed our economy, especially our startup ecosystem, to flourish, made our public governance more efficient, accessible, and liable. And it has certainly put our education, healthcare, tax and election systems quality to a new level. All of this can be copied or shared if you embrace open source and interoperable solutions to make digital options adaptable and scalable, so that all countries can benefit. Estonia's approach has been to build holistic digital public infrastructure that benefits both public and private sectors. One example of this is our data exchange platform that we call X-Road. It enables us to securely exchange data between different actors, from private banks to public offices. Today, X-Road is implemented in over 20 countries around the world. X-Road, being developed and managed by the Nordic Institute of Interoperability Solutions, is also a great example of cross-border cooperation among states, enabling data exchange between Estonia, Finland, and Iceland. We believe in the benefit of co-creating, reusing, and co-developing already existing solutions to save resources and avoid duplication. This should be our common guiding principle to bridge the divides faster. Multi-stakeholders cooperation and partnerships, both domestically and globally, are the foundation of an open digital society. Collaboration is important to mobilize resources and to engage in capacity building. It is the fastest way to ensure that no one is left behind, especially in developing countries. And this is especially true when it comes to artificial intelligence that holds immense potential for accelerating the sustainable development goals. But we can all only leverage the benefits if all stakeholders are around the table. In conclusion, the journey towards a common digital future is something we must take together. And luckily, we now have a global digital compact to guide us on that journey. Estonia stands ready to continue sharing its experiences and working to ensure that digital technologies are exploited for the benefit of all. Thank you.
I thank my esteemed co-chair for his statement. Allow me at this point to make a few personal national remarks as it relates to the theme of this dialogue. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, at the 4th International Conference on Seeds earlier this year, I said, the future is intelligence-driven. Since then, artificial intelligence has advanced at a pace that even experts struggle to keep up with. Yet, the pressing reality is that over 1/3 of the global population remains disconnected from the internet, particularly in developing countries. This digital divide is not only about access to internet, it is a profound barrier to development, opportunity and justice. For SIDS, LDCs and LLDCs, the digital divide exacerbates existing vulnerabilities. To bridge this divide and achieve the objectives of the Global Digital Compact, I urge all participants in this interactive dialogue to identify policies and actions that ensure no country, no one is left behind. I would like to offer 3 suggestions. First, we must prioritize initiatives that empower young people to participate in the digital economy. In the Maldives, we are committed to investing in digital skilling and reskilling to fuel local innovation and drive economic diversification, supporting MSMEs and freelance workers to gain access to global workforce and marketplaces. We believe that this will enable the youth to take the lead in digital transformation. Second, we must build the necessary digital infrastructure. Digital technologies and innovation are necessary to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We can achieve the SDGs by adopting best practices from both developing and developed countries. This includes investing in expanding high-speed internet coverage, enhancing digital access to essential services, and integrating AI to boost productive capacity. In the Maldives, the National Center for Information Technology is undertaking several initiatives in these areas. We must also invest in capacity building, encourage technology transfer, and boost investment and financing towards these efforts. Third, as we embrace digitalization, we safeguard consumer rights. Challenges related to unauthorized access, account hijacking, and data privacy are real. To address challenges in the Maldives, we have established the National Cybersecurity Agency to address security concerns that arise in digitalization. We, of course, need resources for a resilient cybersecurity infrastructure to complement and support our own efforts. Ambitious actions in this area demand international cooperation, investment, and genuine partnerships. The Maldives is committed to building a digital world that is inclusive, resilient, and just. I look forward to hearing countries' experiences, best practices, and challenges in this dialogue today. Together, we can harness the digital revolution towards our common future. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I now have the pleasure to invite our distinguished special invitees to make some scene-setting remarks before we proceed to the list of speakers for this dialogue. I kindly remind them of the time limit of 3 minutes for statements. I first invite Ms. Borden Martin, Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We live in a world of unprecedented digital opportunities, a world where AI can mitigate 10% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, where about 60 satellites take to the skies on average each week, where digital ID can unlock economic value equivalent to up to 13% of GDP. In this world, game-changing digital solutions can accelerate 70% of the SDG targets. But it's also a world where 2.6 billion people are still offline, where cyber attacks surge by 80% every year, where many, in particular women, can't afford a smartphone because entry-level handsets exceed 70% of their monthly incomes in many countries, where only 24% of digital waste is formally collected, where 85% of ITU member states don't yet have an AI policy. Ladies and gentlemen, behind these statistics are real people, like Luis, a young ALS patient who joined the AI for Good Global Summit last year. Luis lost his ability to speak, but not his voice, thanks to AI. And Brianna, who said that all children have the same rights when the Giga Initiative helped to connect her school to the internet. Yesterday, the UNSG challenged us. He challenged us all to put humanity's best interest front and center in new technologies. He reminded us that we will be judged not by our agreements, but by our actions. ITU, as the UN Agency for Digital Technologies, stands ready to support the implementation of the Global Digital Compact. We back our words with actions, bold and collective actions. From the Giga Initiative, ITU and UNICEF, to connect every school to the internet by 2030, to the Early Warnings for All initiative, protecting the most vulnerable from climate change, to our new collaboration on standards to stop the spread of AI-driven misinformation.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Has been amazing. We power content moderation online. If you have followed the news on artificial intelligence, Africa has constantly powered the very low value chain on artificial intelligence. But no African country was ranked in the top 40 of the Global Innovation Index. Actually, the bottom 10 least innovative countries are all African. We still struggle with electricity, and this has been mentioned by Microsoft. But I would want to highlight today two matters that I think really should concern us. One is on the startup ecosystem. There's a constant tussle and divide between big tech companies and startup ecosystems and how to power local startup ecosystems to grow within our countries. At the Lawyers Hub, we welcome the Global Digital Compact, especially on the commitments on empowering young people, empowering micro and small businesses within the digital economy. Secondly, in pursuit of this common digital future, we face the great issue of global mobility. Despite representing the vast majority of the world's populations, professionals from Africa, Latin America, and Asia really face barriers when attempting to engage or participate in such global forums. We must confront the issue of visa regimes and mobility. Data cannot travel faster than human beings. I want to suggest today that, by contrast, if we look at the amount of monies that we are losing, especially for startup founders from the Global South who are looking to set up businesses, looking to fundraise, are losing all these monies in visa regimes and visa applications. This is something that we need to talk about. So what must we do to close the digital divide? Number one, we must close the data gap. Data has to be representative. It has to be black, it has to be white, it has to be global north, and it has to be global south. We recognize that the common data standards and interoperable data exchanges can increase the sharing of data and help close these data divides. Number two, we must have a holistic approach towards coordination to avoid duplicity, which is something that has been mentioned in the Global Digital Compact, and hopeful that the UN institutions will be able to guide us in these policy dialogues. But then finally, on fostering open and inclusive, non-discriminatory digital environments, we must be able to engage with small and medium businesses, especially startups, to look at how to deploy this. We also must deploy digital public infrastructure to close the digital divide, especially in the Global South. We have a youth bonus Let us raise these digital natives that spur the continents, especially those in the global south, out of poverty. And we also must avoid tokenism. When we talk about digital divide, we do not see commitments. There must be commitments that ensure that we do not have tokenisms. At the Lawyers Hub, we are working to bridge these divides, especially the digital policy divide, by running the Africa Digital Policy Institute and building the capacity of policymakers, lawyers, and bar associations to ensure that they ably participate and make regulations that close this digital divide. And finally, recently we launched the Africa's first AI policy lab with support from the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation. And this is geared towards ensuring that there is no data gap that will help us to get into policy making. We are committed to developing digital policy talent across the African continent, and it is time for us to show up and ensure that we close the digital divide by actual commitments in digital policy. Thank you.
I thank the founder of the Lawyers Hub. At this point, I would like to invite my fellow co-chair to take over the chair.
I thank my eminent co-chair, His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Muzoum, for his efficient manner in which he has guided our proceedings during the opening segment of his dialogue. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, before I open the floor, I would like to inform that all the statements are to be made from your seat. The time limit for statements is 3 minutes, and due to the limited time available, this will be strictly implemented through the automatic microphone cutoff when the speaker's allotted time elapses. The red light on a speaker's microphone will start to blink 30 seconds before the end of the allotted speaker's time of 3 minutes, when the microphone will be automatically shut down. I thank all speakers in advance for their cooperation. In the interest of time, delegations with long statements are strongly encouraged to deliver summarized versions of a statement and to submit the full text to e-statements at un.org, to be posted in the UN Journal as part of a record of our proceedings. I now open the floor for statements by delegations inscribed on the list of speakers for this dialogue. I give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Dimitar Klachev from Bulgaria. The floor is yours.
Honorable Mr. Co-Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Today we stand at an important moment in history as we explore how to harness digital technologies to promote sustainable development, enhance inclusion and ensure a secure digital space for everyone. Digital technologies, when leveraged effectively, offer transformative potential for fostering sustainable development of a balanced and inclusive manner. These technologies tackle challenges like climate change and financial inclusion by boosting efficiency and innovation and resource management and poverty alleviation. They enhance resilience and economic empowerment by expanding financial inclusion and job opportunities, especially in underserved areas. Governments should invest in regional digital infrastructure and promote engagement through a whole-of-government approach for effective policy development. In Bulgaria, in 2022, launched the Institute for Computer Science, Artificial Intelligence and Technologies at Sofia University in collaboration with Swiss universities, which highlights our commitment to technological innovation and attracts for all talents. Achieving these goals demands robust multi-stakeholder collaboration and capacity building. Governments, businesses, academia and civil society must unite to enhance technological and scientific capacity and close the digital divide. The EU Connecting Europe facility exemplify how joint efforts can advance critical digital infrastructure. The Bulgaria-Greece-Serbia 5G corridor initiative demonstrates how such partnership can boost connectivity and address digital disparities. To create an inclusive, open and secure digital space, we must prioritize protection and equity. It's crucial to safeguard all individuals, especially women and children, from online harms. Bulgaria's approach to balancing cybersecurity, digital literacy and personal data protection, expanding digital infrastructure, particularly in underserved areas, is essential for equal access to the digital economy, including education, healthcare and economic opportunities. In conclusion,
I thank His Excellency Dimitar Klachev for his statement, and now give the floor to His Excellency Javier Espot Zamora from Andorra, please.
Thank you very much, Messieurs les co-présidents, Mesdames.
Co-chairs, ladies and gentlemen, at the present time, humankind is seeing a digital revolution. It's changed how human beings interact and their way of life. All changes bring risks and opportunities and need time for adaptation. The Neolithic revolution lasted 1,000 years, the Industrial Revolution around 200 years, and the current revolution is advancing at such a rate that it will have reached its conclusion in around 100 years. We therefore need to find a common digital future. This is an urgent need because there's a direct link between digitalization and economic, social and cultural progress. Regrettably, though, digitalization is not universal. The COVID-19 pandemic has made our weaknesses clear. Lockdowns have shown how parts of the populations have not had access to digital technologies, which has led to a massive gap emerging. Because of this, it is absolutely necessary to establish shared principles for an open, safe and equal and accessible digital future, which is accessible to all. Ladies and gentlemen, mindful of this gap, Andorra this year has launched the first public-private forum for the digital transition to ensure that the digital transition is an instrument for progress and responds to the commitments we saw in the Ibero-American Summit held in Andorra in 2021. This forum shows the desire of my country to show its know-how and knowledge to make progress with universal connectivity and contribute to the implementation of the Global Digital Compact of the United Nations. Andorra has learned a great deal over these recent years. We have also much to offer, even if we're a small country, or indeed perhaps because of our small size. We are one of the best connected territories in the world, with 96% of our inhabitants having access to the internet. We have also demonstrated prudence and responsibility, taking into account the needs of all citizens. The digital transition has the potential to become a vital tool for attaining the SDGs. With that in mind, the implementation of our national strategy for the digital transition by 2030 allows us to note that digital initiatives clearly contribute to improving educational processes, to making progress towards gender equality, to boosting economic progress, decent work, and achieving peace, justice, and the consolidation of institutions. The environment and the digital sector are becoming the backbone of our societies and critical elements to reach sustainable development. As such, this is a challenge which can only be faced down. The speaker was cut off.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Zamora from Andorra, and now I give the floor to His Excellency Edi Rama from Albania. Please.
Thank you very much. I will try to be as short as you wish, starting by saying that digital technology, with its promise for exponential progress, is a bless for developing countries, and we in Albania have seen it in our real life and through our endeavors, becoming a place where 95% of services today are online, and all the front offices and the long queues are history. On the other hand, we are seeing it in developing a model with artificial intelligence to push much faster our negotiations with the European Union for the EU membership, as we are seeing it also in building a new model for completely transparent and 95% unmanned public procurement. On the other hand, of course, digital technology is not just a bless, but also a curse. Cyber attacks, and Albania was victim of a very harsh cyber attack from Iran, and we witnessed in our real life how much this type of new world based on technology can be harmful to countries and citizens. But at the end, there is no doubt that if we will be able to create a system where the world and the community of nations will get the best out of the promises of the digital technology, and at the same time will tame all the downsides and the detrimental effects that can come from the malicious use of it, the world will be a much better place. Thank you very much, and I hope I got your sympathy, Mr. Chairman, by being so short.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. And now I, at this point, hand over my co-chair to preside over the meeting, please.
I thank my esteemed co-chair. We will continue with our list of speakers. I now give the floor to His Excellency Patrice Emery Trovoada, Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués.
Ladies and gentlemen, delegates, all protocols respected, and also my 3 minutes, I'll respect them too. The African continent is often seen from the negative lens of economic and social problems, but it's also an incredible source of opportunities and innovation, adapted to its unique needs with a population which exceeds 1 billion inhabitants. Its human capital is a major force facilitating the digital future as well as the economic future of the globe. Innovation we've seen in Africa has shown that Africa isn't just a passive consumer of technologies, but rather a creator of models inspiring the rest of the world. Digitalization at a cross-cutting level is the driving force of global development in the future of our continent. Africa is particularly vulnerable to the impact of climate change, but can also be a model using the digital sector to overcome environmental challenges for the management of natural resources, sustainable agriculture, and the prediction of natural disasters. Innovative solutions such as precision agriculture or using drones to monitor lands which have been used can help to smartly use resources, making the future safer, and particularly food security. Africa has around 6% of the world's arable land, and it also makes us able to combat climate change at global level. Because of this, my government has just created the Conservation Trust Fund, the goal of which is to consolidate nature and the environment as economic assets. However, Africa also faces basic challenges specific to the continent, such as access to the internet. We want to see digitalization. This affects digitalization, education, health, and has a broad impact across the globe. Nevertheless, this is a challenge to private actors. We can have public-private partnerships with a clear goal to ensure equitable digital access for all African citizens so that nobody is left behind in this transformation. The demographics speak for themselves. In a country such as mine, we are deeply attached to freedom of expression and combating disinformation, hate speech, and foreign interference on social media platforms. There is a risk of fragmentation of the internet or splinternet because of national regulation. This threatens the unity of the global internet and makes it more difficult to access information at a time when inspiring critical thinking via education, in our view, is critical for the progress of our respective societies, ensuring social cohesion and inclusion. My country and my country, continent Africa, cannot. The speaker was cut off.
Probably doesn't know he's cut off. So.
I thank His Excellency Patrice Emery of the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe for his statement. And now I give the floor to His Excellency Jonas Gahr Støre, Prime Minister of Norway.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for this opportunity, delegates, excellencies and colleagues. We have to deal with the world as it is, and I believe we can agree that access to digital technologies now means really how we can secure opportunities for all. We now know that digital cooperation is absolutely key to ensure that individual businesses and civil society can benefit from progress. Among such challenges that we are dealing with is climate change, global health crisis, and much more. Digital public goods are essential tools in tackling these and other risks, but they are linked. And we know, Mr. President, that digital services consume a lot of electricity. And I just come from a meeting where we are addressing the fact that 600 million people in Africa don't have access to electricity. So I'd just like to call the attention to the initiative by the World Bank and the African Development Bank of providing 300 million people in Africa with electricity by the end of this century, by this decade, by 2030, is part of this challenge. Norway provides and promotes financing for digital public goods in sectors such as climate and weather forecasting, agriculture and health systems. We also help support digital public goods that help countries build essential platforms across all sectors, including digital identity and civil registration systems. And I'm happy to see that this technology can spread to all continents. They are critical for inclusion, particularly women and other groups that risk exclusion. Building safe, trusted and inclusive digital infrastructure for all is absolutely central for leaving no one behind. And then, being here at the UN, Mr. President, multi-stakeholder collaboration and partnership has to be there for us to succeed. The Digital Public Good Alliance is a great example, with more than 40 members from countries, UN institutions, civil society and the private sector. This alliance facilitates the discovery and deployment of open source technology with the aim to accelerate progress towards the SDGs. And I believe it is inspiring and a really learning experience to see that digital public good developed in Sierra Leone to pay health workers during the Ebola crisis is now being used in the Philippines. And closer to home, I noted that COVID tracking tool first developed in Sri Lanka proved useful to Norwegian municipalities in my country. So this is a learning experience. So, dear friends, we must remember that all human rights fully apply in the digital space. There is no exception, and this is being challenged. Digital technologies should be designed to minimize the risk of violating rights and doing harm, in particular to minors and children. They must be safe to use and meet the needs of all users.
I thank His Excellency Jonas Gahr Støre, Prime Minister of Norway, for his statement. And now I give the floor to His Excellency Michael Martin, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Defence of Ireland.
Many thanks, Chairperson. I'm delighted to contribute to this important discussion on strengthening inclusive innovation and cooperation to bridge digital divides. Yesterday we adopted the Pact for the Future, the most wide-ranging international agreement in many years. And this pact and its annexes, the Global Digital Compact and the Declaration on Future Generations, amount to a step change in how the multilateral system responds to the opportunities and challenges facing our global community. And now that the pact has been agreed, our tasks as world leaders is to implement it, here at the United Nations and across our regions and countries, as we build a more sustainable, just and peaceful global order. Ireland strongly welcomes the Global Digital Compact. Our focus now should be on working together for its implementation. We need to unite the international community in support of the multi-stakeholder action required to overcome digital divides. New and emerging technologies is changing the way we live and work and can pose challenges. Artificial intelligence, for example, has the potential to amplify disinformation and to erode hard-won freedoms. However, it also creates a wealth of opportunity. In order to realise the positive potential of emerging technologies, we must take a human rights-based approach and ensure compliance with international law. Ireland has experienced firsthand the transformative power of technological advancement and the emergence of our modern digital world. We now strive to ensure that a digital approach informs our work with partner countries towards their development goals. Through diverse programmes, Ireland is partnering to reduce the digital divide. In Malawi, we are supporting projects to address the gender digital divide through the Malawi Girls Can Code 2 initiative. In Vietnam, artificial intelligence is being used to detect changes in mangrove cover in order to protect and expand forests affected by climate change. And the Irish Tech Challenge South Africa fosters connections between the South African and Irish tech ecosystems. A common digital future also requires us to close digital divides within countries. We must include a diverse range of voices in this debate around our common digital future. It is vital that those most affected by emerging technologies have a strong voice in shaping outcomes. As we move towards 2030, Ireland believes that the transformative power of emerging technologies has the potential to help us deliver sustainable development and to create opportunities for global peace and prosperity. I believe the Pact for the Future that we have now agreed collectively provides the basis for this important work. The test will be, of course, in its implementation.
I thank His Excellency Michael Martin of Ireland. At this point, I hand over to my eminent co-chair to preside over the meeting.
I thank my esteemed co-chair. And we'll continue with a list of speakers. And now I give a floor to His Excellency Solomaksai Komashit, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Laos, People's Democratic Republic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Co-Chair. The advancement of digital innovation serves as a pivotal accelerator for achievement of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. UN member states are embracing digitalizations to foster socio-economic development ranging from production, trade, finance, to service, among others. However, while many countries, particularly countries in special situations, are making significant strides in adapting digital technology, there is still a big gap among countries in this digital transformation. This digital divide can deepen existing inequality while also hampering access to resource and opportunity. Therefore, bridging these divides require concerted effort to address barriers such as limited infrastructure, digital literacy, and affordability, ensuring that no one is left behind in this journey towards sustainable development powered by digital innovation. Despite these efforts, continued international technical and financial support and collaboration remain crucial, particularly in developing digital infrastructure and building human resource capacity in science, technology, and innovation. In this regard, the Lao PDR urges development partners to intensify effort to enhance cooperation mechanism in an initiative that increase capacity, humans' mutual support in research, development, and applications of science, technology, and innovation. Mr. President, in order to bridge the digital divide, we believe that enhancing North-South cooperation, South-South, and triangular cooperation provide ample opportunities and mutual benefit for all. By developing human resources, sharing best practice and lessons learned, including transferring technical and technological know-how by taking into account the actual needs and circumstances of each country, as well as increasing investment in teachers and higher education, research and development, we will be able to significantly enhance our technological capability, meet the demands of skilled workforce, and advance sustainable development globally. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Komasit. And now I give the floor to Her Excellency Esther Dweck, Minister of Management and Innovation in Public Services of Brazil. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The future is digital, but it needs also to be green and inclusive. Therefore, we must drive a fair digital revolution and advance the transformation of public institutions. Innovative solutions for climate mitigation and adaptation, alongside the promotion of diversity and equity, are essential for sustainable societies. Recognizing the central role of digital transformation in an inclusive and sustainable development, Brazil, under its President Lula leadership, is committed to a triple transition: digital, social, and ecological, as a strategy to tackle systemic inequalities. During our G20 presidency, we focus on digital inclusion, understanding its vital role for global economic growth and for regional development. In order to promote digital inclusion, we must ensure meaningful and affordable connectivity and develop digital skills that are crucial for leaving no country and no one behind. As we integrate digital technology into every aspect of life, we have observed the exponential growth of disinformation, misogyny, and all sorts of discrimination and the massification of hate speech in social media. We must implement robust policies that protect users from online harms, particularly vulnerable groups like women and children. Concerning digital government, Brazil has strengthened the concept of digital public infrastructure, which integrates data and services into public policies, such as digital payment, digital identities, and safe data sharing. Two important Brazilian DPIs, the Unified Register for Social Policy and our digital ID, linked to the gov.br platform, played a crucial role during natural disasters in Rio Grande do Sul state. The government issued more than 2.3 million of financial assistance, showcasing the power of digital tools in crisis response. The Rural Environmental Registry is another vital green DPI that combats deforestation, promotes environmental restoration, allows traceability, and protects the right of indigenous population and local communities. Soon, it will also be integrated in carbon market policies. In the G20 digital economy discussion, Brazil proposed also the topic of information integrity. For the first time, we reached a high-level consensus on the importance of transparency and liability for digital platforms and on the necessity of promoting resilient and diversified information environment. Brazil is also engaged in the responsible and ethical development and use of artificial intelligence. Achieving these goals requires collaboration across government, civil society, the private sector, and multilateral organizations. Our national AI plans include developing autonomous capacity in the field and launching a Portuguese language LLM which respects intellectual property rights and cultural heritage. We reaffirm our commitment to promoting a fair and equal digital future, and we are here to collaborate with other global voices to ensure a planet for all. Together, we must act now for a sustainable and inclusive digital future. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency Ms. Tek for her statement and now give the floor to His Excellency Minister of Economy, Planning and Development, Pavel Isa Contreras from Dominican Republic.
Buenos días.
Very good morning, Excellencies. We are at a crucial juncture in history where digital technologies have transformed our societies and economies and the way in which we relate to each other. This matter could not be more relevant. Moving towards a totally digital era, closing the huge gaps for technical access and ownership within our countries and beyond our own borders is key. The digital revolution threatens to leave many behind. Overcoming these difficulties requires a collective effort. In the Dominican Republic, we've made notable progress with rolling out digital infrastructure with implementation of 4G and 5G networks, as well as with expanding fiber optic fiber networks and the Giga ITU UNICEF initiative. However, to make a lasting impact, we know that we need to continue to maintain infrastructure in a sustainable fashion. Over recent years, the Dominican government has prioritized digitalization of public services. Now, thanks to public digital infrastructure, citizens can do paperwork online and participate in decision-making in a more transparent and direct fashion. In the private sphere, Dominican businesses have adopted digital solutions to boost their competitiveness. The pandemic accelerated the rise of e-commerce and remote work, which generated new opportunities. However, much remains to be done to guarantee that SMEs and MSMEs can have the necessary tools to compete in the digital economy. We cannot discuss digital economy without talking about the importance of digital education. The Dominican Republic has chosen programs which cover use of the internet, cybersecurity, and also AI. Only with a robust educational system will we be able to ensure that our people are prepared for the challenges of tomorrow. Closing the digital divide is a task which cannot be achieved by one country alone or one region alone. This is a shared responsibility. Regional initiatives such as Partner to Connect of the ITU or the Legfort Centre of the EU or others are examples of how we can work together to ensure that digital innovations are available to all. The digital future is our common future, but it is only by working together that we'll be able to guarantee that nobody is left behind. We must continue to promote the exchange of know-how, developing infrastructure, ensuring that there's connectivity and that public policies are aligned with the needs of today's digital world. From the connectivity of rural areas to cybersecurity, we need to work together to achieve real and lasting change. We are committed to do so. Thank you very much.
I thank His Excellency Pavel Isa Contreras, and at this point I hand over to my eminent co-chair to preside over the meeting.
I thank my esteemed co-chair. We will continue with our list of speakers. I now give the floor to His Excellency Dina Na from Bhutan Minister of Foreign Affairs and External Trade.
Co-chairs, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in 1999, Bhutan took its first steps into the digital world, being one of the last countries to introduce the internet and television. Since then, technology has rapidly transformed our nation, accelerating Bhutan's transition from isolation to global integration and unlocking new opportunities for growth. This year, Bhutan adopted its national digital strategy, a roadmap aimed at solving key challenges like urban congestion, climate change, and expanding digital payments to boost local economies. Central to this transformation is our national digital identity. In 2023, Bhutan became the first nation to establish a legal framework for self-sovereign identity. The NDI will serve as the foundation for delivering all public services digitally, ensuring efficient and secure access for every citizen. Bhutan is eager to share this technology with our neighbors and world while learning from global experiences in digital innovation. However, technology's benefits are not yet equally shared. Allow me to emphasize three key areas where action is crucial to promote inclusive digital progress. Number one, global partnerships. Bridging the digital divide requires collaboration. We believe that fostering global partnerships, we can enrich technological research, facilitate the exchange of skilled labor, and build local capacity for hands-on learning. Second, inclusivity. It's vital that everyone, regardless of the background, can access and use digital technologies. In Bhutan, 34% of the population, including the illiterate, have received digital skills training, with our youth leading the way in sharing knowledge within their communities. Third is digital security. As digital services expand, so do vulnerabilities, ensuring a safe and secure online.
PSM News Gamgadiಗೆ ಮುಹಿಮ್ ಖಬರ್ತಗೆ ಸುರಹಿತುದಿದ್ದರೀಗ ಇಕ್ತಿಸೋದ್ ಸಿಂದಫಾತುಕ ಡಿಜಿಟಲೈಸ್ ಕುರುಮ ಖುದಿ ಜಜೀರಾ ಗೌಮ್ತಕಂ ಕುರಾ ಮಸಕತುಕ ಬಣ ಅಕ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಜ್ತಮೋಗೆ ಹಿತ್ರಿಕಂ ಬೇನು ಮಾಕಮ ರೆಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ವಿದಾಳ್ವು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಐಕ್ಕೊಂ ಒಯ್ ಜಮಾಮಿ ಗ್ಯಾಗ್ ಗುಳುಂ ಬದಹಿಕುರ ಮಸಕೆ ಕುರ ಬಾಣಿಕಮ ಶ್ರೀಲಂಕಾಗೆ ರೈಸ್ ಅನುರ ಕುಮಾರ ದಿಸಾನಾಯಕ ವಿದಾಳ್ವು ಬಣ ಅಕ್ವಾಮಿ ಏರ್ಲೈನ್ ತಕುಕ ದಿವೆಹಿ ಕೆಯುಂತ ಲಿಬೆಂ ಹುನ್ನಾಣ ದುವಹಿದ್ದೆಕೆ ಬೇನು ಮಾಕಮಶಾ ಏಕಮಕಿ ನುವಾಣೆ ಕಮೆ ನೂಂಕಮ ಇಕ್ಸೋದಿ ತರಗಿಯಾ ವಿಫಾರಿಯಾ ಬೆಹೆ ವಜೀರ್ ವಿತಾಳವೆ ಖಬರುಗಿತುರುಂ corruption ge masalta court marhalain kamyab kurma ACCA PG office kuligen eng amazaka masake kurum muhimukama prosecutor general vitalwe khabar tafsil vis nigariga
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम PSM न्यूज़ के रेगन राशि के खबर बालों में गंदवाई में हबलों तेरी नमर हबादन नमक मिगड़ी के खबर तक है कि मिबद्दल कोली मरियम शाउशत मिगड़ी के खबर तक है को कुरिया दुम के कुरियंगल में तिबे फुना हमें मिगने से ने मेवगुत न्यूयॉर्क का कुरिया दा समिट ऑफ द फ्यूचर के इंटरैक्टिव डायलॉग के थीम वन सेशन में रईसुल जमहूरिया डॉक्टर मोहम्मद मुइज़ कोच अकुरावा सेशन में
with me when I say that restoring security and territorial integrity of the country is the #1 national priority. Nonetheless, the government is convinced that the true response to terrorist barbarism is through development. Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, head of state, the place occupied by the digital as a catalyst of inclusive development is affirmed daily. The government just last week enacted a large-scale project funded together with the World Bank to the tune of 100 billion to accelerate the development of infrastructure, modernize infrastructure, and cover rural areas and localities. Ladies and gentlemen, my country is convinced that the digital challenges has to be taken comprehensively, taking into account the interest of all actors, in particular when it comes to cybersecurity and fighting cybercrime, as well as when it comes to regulating the action of private actors, as well as balancing this against the sovereignty of a state. And I would like to here welcome, on behalf of the government of my country, the adoption of the Global Digital Compact, whose aim is to bridge the digital divide. The issue of funding is fundamental here. At this stage, I would like to launch an appeal to the digital giants and say that you have the influence and the resources to contribute towards reducing the digital divide. So invite, even to a greater extent in their infrastructures, developing countries, support innovation locally, and access to technologies. And this will not be charity. This will be an investment and will become profitable because you will extend the number of your consumers by 2.6 billion people who are not connected today. I would like to insist on the urgency of the issue of fiscal justice. If we had that, we will be able to benefit from the tax revenues of digital giants. We need to build together and have international cooperation, which is sincere, win-win cooperation, and equitable if we want to have a world which is more connected.
I thank Her Excellency Aminata Zerbo from Burkina Faso. And now give the floor to His Excellency Ville Tavio, Minister of Foreign Trade and Development, Finland.
Mr. President, Secretary General, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I would like to start by thanking Secretary General Antonio Guterres for his leadership and efforts to make the UN system fit for the future. This summit is a culmination point in this regard. You can count on Finland's support for your work. Last year at the SDG summit, we agreed to accelerate the implementation of our shared global goals. We now have the opportunity to look even further ahead to agree on the future we want. Technology has emerged as one of the key questions for global development. The digital transformation presents us with a wealth of opportunities that we need to grasp. At the same time, it presents us new risks that we need to act on. The United Nations will have a key role in making sure we have the tools to manage this process in the years ahead. With growing threats to peace and security, we need to make sure technology is a force for good and not used to amplify conflicts and create further instability. This task is in the very core of the UN Charter and mission. The Global Digital Compact comes at a critical time. It's almost 20 years since the world last came to an agreement on a framework for harnessing technology for development. This took place at the World Summit on Information Society in Geneva and Tunis. Since then, the digital landscape has changed dramatically. The Global Digital Compact is a landmark agreement to update our shared principles and goals for advancing global digital development, outlining what we need to focus on now and in the future. Finland's government considers technology to be an integral part of our foreign and security policy. We have a strong focus on digital development in our development policy, including increased attention to private sector solutions and investments. We are committed to working internationally for digital development that is fair, inclusive and sustainable with respect for human rights and equality. We are pleased that our priorities, improving digital connectivity, governing emerging technologies, addressing the gender digital divide, investing in education and digital skills, and strengthening human rights are included in the compact. Globally, we are far from reaching the target of universal connectivity as set out by the Agenda 2030. The Global Digital Compact calls for more cooperation to close the persistent digital divide, especially in remote and underserved areas. In this regard, I want to highlight the need to mobilize more private investment and capital to meet these needs. Without adequate infrastructure in place, the potential of digitalization remains locked in. The Global Digital Compact should be not a political declaration only. We need to take concrete steps to implement it. This is not a task for the UN member states alone. We need multi-stakeholder cooperation.
I thank His Excellency Ville Tavio, Minister of Foreign Trade and Development of Finland. And now give the floor to His Excellency Abdullah Al-Swaha, Minister of Communication and Information Technology of Saudi Arabia.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace and blessings of God be upon you. Undoubtedly, the world today is living this great opportunity of digitalization as an economic multiplier. We have an opportunity from $6 to $10 trillion that we can take advantage of together if we work in a comprehensive way in artificial intelligence. But there are a number of jobs, millions of jobs, that will be threatened if we did not work in this comprehensive way. We are at a crossroads. Either artificial intelligence will be the biggest multiplier to bridge this gap or the biggest challenge towards extending this gap. The government of His Majesty the King and His Royal Highness have made efforts in order for us to be pioneer in multilateral international cooperation to bridge these gaps, the social gap and the economic gap, as well as gaps in the future related to artificial intelligence. In terms of social gap, we have worked with ITU to conduct a study to connect the world that is unconnected through innovative solutions on planet and in space, on planet Earth and in space. And in terms of empowering women, we are proud to have had a great success story in the 21st century in terms of empowering women to reach 35%, going beyond the average of G20, the European Union, and Silicon Valley. As for digital health, we have harnessed the virtual hospital model as a pioneering model around the world by serving more than 30 million pilgrims who come from over 100 countries of Saudi Arabia. And lately we had the first surgery that was conducted to transplant a heart using robots. As for economy, we are observer member, and we cooperate with all organizations in this field in a participatory way to ensure that we have a prosperous digital economy for the region and for the three continents, Middle East, Asia, Europe, and Africa. As for artificial intelligence, we are proud to have Dr. Latif Abdel Latif, who is the first woman that represents us in the advisory body for artificial intelligence. And we are working together on the pact for the future so that we can harness this era of artificial intelligence in a comprehensive way to serve humanity and planet Earth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank His Excellency Abdullah Al-Swaha, Minister of Communication and Information Technology of Saudi Arabia. And now give the floor to Her Excellency Ursula Owusu Ekuful, Minister of Communication and Digitalization of Ghana.
Co-chairs, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, over the past decade, we've observed, discussed, and shared many insights and experiences, coming to the realization that access to digital technologies and services is no longer a luxury for the privileged few, but a human right for all, regardless of social status or geographical location. By utilizing digitalization to reduce inequalities experienced in accessing basic public services, it should be our priority to implement simple, people-centric digital initiatives that benefit all. Ghana is implementing the Digital Ghana Agenda to ensure that all public services across all sectors are digitalized to enhance transparency, access, accountability, and efficiency. Our digital economy policy and strategy identifies 5 main pillars: universal access and connectivity, digital skills, research, and digital entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, our government, like most, does not have the resources to address the widening connectivity and service acquisition gap without private sector funding. As a critical component to our developmental goals in the medium to long term, we require partnerships that promote a win-win approach to implement initiatives that will bring connectivity and access to underserved and unserved communities within the next 4 years and beyond. By utilizing shared networks in partnership with our network operators, we're extending connectivity to our rural populations and high-speed 4G and 5G broadband services nationwide. We've also set up a Girls in ICT Trust to narrow the gender digital divide. The transfer of technology and knowledge to our youth through the partnerships that we secure to ensure sustainability of digital interventions and reduction of overdependence on foreign expertise is non-negotiable. Access to affordable digital devices and narrowing the usage gap due to inadequate digital skills is a major challenge, even where connectivity is available. The affordability of internet data can be significantly reduced if developing countries have internet exchange points within their countries and continents. This will minimize internet access routes and the attendant high cost of internet access in the global south. We owe it as a duty to support developing countries to catch up as digital technologies provide a level playing field for all the haves and have-nots. We must also work to reduce the cost of devices. Digital technologies come with their own attendant challenges, such as cyber attacks, mobile fraud, online abuse, misinformation, etc. We can mitigate some of these challenges through comprehensive awareness campaigns and knowledge sharing, promoted through in-person encounters on social media and social media handles. Being aware is being empowered. Developing countries need flexible and affordable financing instruments
I thank Her Excellency Ursula Owusu Ekuful, Minister of Communication and Digitalization. At this point, I hand over to my eminent co-chair to proceed over the meeting. Thank you.
I thank my esteemed co-chair, and we will continue with our list of speakers. And now give the floor to Her
PSM News के मिगड़ी खबर बालों में गंदवाई में हाबलों तेरे नगदे से फर्मर हबादा नमक देम में अलमंती बेफुना हमें मिगेनिस्तेनी Summit of the Future के इंटरैक्टिव डायलॉग के थीम सेशन में रईसुल जमहूरिया कोच या कुरे भी सेशन में बागो तो दें कुरे मुरे खबर तक एक कुरे दार اقتصاد سندفاتك ديجيتالايز كرما كود جزيرة قامتكم كرامة سكتوغا بين الأقوام مجتمع هيتري كامبين واكما رئيس الجمهورية دكتور محمد مويزوي دارويج رئيس الجمهورية ميكما غوالوي ألفتالغا كوريادا Summit of the Future के हवासा के तेरेंबेवी सीड्स के बदल वमेगा
Building productive capacities in seats ke namga bevi badalumga Rasul Jumhuriya vidalvi ufeddun tirikang itur kurma ufeddun tirikang itur kurvene goettan hodumaki kudi jazira qawmtoge iksodi kurieruma demehetune taragiya komhen kurenche kamekama adi kudi jazira qawmtoge iksota fula kuruman huritataka undaguta bala ekankama hallu hoda denje kama Rasul Jumhuriya vidalvi Rasul Jumhuriya vidalvi rajyaga oi mati fantige faturikam ge sabun emme kudako taragiya fawa qawmtoge list ತರಕಿವಮುಂ ಅಣ್ಣ ಕೌಮ್ತಹುಗೆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಕುರಿಯ ಜೆಲಾಫಾವಾಕಮ ನಮಸ್ ತರಕಿವಮುಂ ಅಣ್ಣ ಕೌಮ್ತಹುಗೆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಕುರಿಯ ಜೆಹಲುಮುಂ ಕುದಿ ಜಸೀರಾ ಅಹೆಂ ಕೌಮ್ತಹುಗೆ ಎಗ್ಗೊತ ಬೈ ಕಂಕಂಗ ತತಿತ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಕುರಿಮತವಮುಂ ಅಣ್ಣಕನ್ ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ವಿದಾಳುವಿ ಅದೇ ದತ್ತಿತಕುಂ ಅರಾಗಣವೆನಿ ಎಕ್ಸೋದು ಸಿಂದಫಾತುಕೋ ಉಫೆದ್ದುನ್ ತೆರಿಕಂ ಇತುರುಕೊಗ್ಗೆನ್ ಕಮವಿಸ್ ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ವಿದಾಳ್ವಿ ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾಗ ವಾಹಕ ಫುಳ್ಗಾವಣಿ ಎಂಟಿಗಾ ಎಂಡ್ ಬಾಬಿಯುಡಾಗ ಬೇವಿ ಸಿಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ಗಾ ಫಾಸ್ಕುರಿ ದಿಹ ಅಹರುಗೆ ಮಗುಚಾಟಕಿ ಖುದಿ ಜಜೀರಾ ಕೌಮ್ತಕಂ ಎಕ್ಸೋದಿ ಕುರಿಯರುಂ ಗೆನೋಮ ಮಗುಫೈವಾಣೆ ಮಗುಚಾಟಿಕಂ ಫಾಹಕುರವಾಫ ಅದೇ ಮಗುಚಾಟು ತಂಫಿಸ್ ಕುರುಂಗಾ ಬೆಣಲಕ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಜ್ತಮೌಗೆ ಹೀತರಿಕಂ ಬೇನುಮ್ಮಾ ಕಮವಿಸ್ ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ವಿದಾಳ್ವಿ ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ವಿದಾಳ್ವಿ ತರಗಿ ಹಾಸಿಲ್ ಕುರುಂಗಾ ಇಕ್ತಿಸೋದ್ ಡಿಜಿಟಲೈಸ್ ಕುರುಮಕಿ ಮುಹಿಮು ದವರೆಂ ಅದಾ ಕುರಾಣೆ ಕಮೆ ಕಮಶಾ ಏಕಂಗೆ ಸಬ್ಬುಂ ಎಕ್ಸೋದಿ ಗೊತುಂ ಕುರಿಯರುಮ ಗಿನ ಮಗುತಕೆ ಫಹಿವೆಗೆನ್ ದಾಣೆ ಕಮ ಎಹೆಂಕಮುನ್ ರಾಜ್ಯಂ ಎಮಗುಂ ಮಸಕೆತ್ತಕೆ ಕೊಂ ಕಾಮಯಾಬಿತಕೆಂ ಹಾಸಿಲ್ ಕುರುಮ ಮಸಕೆ ಕುರುಮುನ್ ದಾಕಮ ಅದಿ ಎಕ್ಸೋದ್ ಡಿಜಿಟಲೈಸ್ ಕುರುಮಾಯಕು ಜುವಾನುನ ಬೇನುಮ ಫಣ್ಣಿ ಹುಣತ ತಸ್ಕೊದ್ದಿನುಮ ಖಾಸ ಮಸಕೆತ್ತಕೆ ಕುರುಮುನ್ ದಾಕಮ ವಿಸ್ ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾಗೆ ವಾಹಕ ಫುಳುಗಾ ಫಹಗ ಕುರೆವಿ
We are also investing heavily in skills development programs to harness the benefits of the digital economy. By equipping our youth with the necessary digital skills, we are positioning ourselves to tap into the global creative economy valued at $2.25 trillion. Leveraging the rise of e-commerce and digital platforms, we are reforming our regulatory frameworks to boost commerce, encourage value addition, and enhance our global competitiveness.
ರಸೂಲ್ ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ವಿದಾಳ್ವಿ ಎಕ್ಸೋದಿ ಗೊತುಂ ಕುರಿಯರ ದೆಮಹೆಟ್ಟಿನ ವಿತರಗಿಯ ರಾಜ್ಯಂ ಕುರಾ ಮಸಕತ ಬೈನಲಕ್ವಾಮಿ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ಗೆ ಹೀತರಿಕಂ ಬೇನುಮಾಕಮ ಎಹಿಂ ಕಮುಂ ಎಕ್ಸೋದ್ ಫುಳಾಕೊಂ ಉಫೆದ್ದುನ್ ತೆರಿಕಂ ಇತುರ್ ಕುರ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯಂ ಕುರಾ ಮಸಕತುಕ ಅಲಿಫ್ತಾಲಾ ಎಹಿನಿಯ ಬೈನಲಕ್ವಾಮಿ ಫರಾತಕೊಂ ಬ್ಯಾರಿವೆ ಏಕಮುಗಾ ಹಿತಿರ್ವೆ ದೇನ ಗೊತ್ತಂ ಹೋತಂ ಚಹೇಕಮ ಅದಿ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಬಿನಾ ಕುರುಮಶಾ ಏಕಮಾ ಗುಳೆ ಮುವಸ್ಸಸಾತಂ ಹರ್ದನಾ ಕುರುಂಗಾವೆ